A Colombian presidential candidate has been attacked and seriously wounded in the capital, Bogota. Conservative Miguel Uribe Turbay was shot in the head and leg during a campaign rally. He's critically ill in hospital.
A brutal attack on a Colombian presidential hopeful. Miguel Uribe was taken to the hospital in a critical condition after being shot 3 times, reportedly twice in the head during a campaign event in Bogota.
It is great news what the clinic has told us, that he overcame the first intervention. These are critical moments and hours for him to survive. We must ask God to preserve Miguel's life and help him overcome this situation.
Following the initial investigations, police reported that a minor was arrested at the crime scene with a firearm. The total number of suspected attackers is unclear.
During the police response, a bodyguard intervened and held one of the attackers, who is a minor. He was injured in the leg and taken to the hospital, where he is receiving medical treatment.
Colombian President Gustavo Petro condemned the attack and vowed to hunt down those responsible, suggesting other criminals may have been involved.
We want, above all, to guarantee the state's absolute transparency in its jurisdiction, to investigate and track down the masterminds behind the attempted murder.
39-year-old Uribe from the center-right party Democratic Center is in the running to join next year's presidential race. After this attack, many Colombians are concerned about a resurgence of the country's past violence.
People are worried. They're going out and see everything that is happening, because it truly is a very sad, very painful event that these things continue to happen in this country. We thought it was something from the past, but it happened right here next to us. People who wanted to listen to his speech, and well, it is very regrettable.
Miguel Uribe comes from a prominent Colombian political family. He is the grandson of former President Julio Cesar Turbay Ayala. He entered the Senate in 2022 after a career in local politics in Bogota.
For more, let's now cross over to journalist Richard McColl, who joins us from Bogota. Richard, it's likely still too early to talk motive here, but what are Colombian officials saying about who's behind this attack and why, at least potentially?
Thank you. No, there's no real knowledge about the motives behind the attack. Of course, we're into the last year of President Gustavo Petro's mandate here. And so whilst election campaigning period has not really kicked off, all of these people, such as Miguel Uribe Turbay, have started to go out on the campaign trail a little bit to try and get the nomination of their party for the presidential hopeful. So it's not, we don't know why the shooter was a 14-year-old or a 15-year-old, differing reports are out there. But if he was contracted by someone else, he's unlikely to know for whom he worked. He is the bottom of the pyramid. So we do not know any of the motives, and we do not know much about the shooter himself either.
The speculation begins. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio condemned the shooting as a direct threat to democracy and said, without providing any evidence, that the attack happened due to, quote, violent leftist rhetoric coming from the highest levels of the Colombian government. What are people making of that, either in the streets or in the halls of power?
Well, yes, this has been an opportunity for the opposition, that's the right, the opposition to the left-wing president, to start saying that the president himself has been provoking reactions, polarizing with his use of social media. We have to put this into context of what's going on at the moment. President Gustavo Petro, the first leftist president in Colombia, is trying to push through a popular referendum. And of course, the right wing, to which Miguel Uribe Turbay belongs, is very much against this, saying that it's a destruction of democracy. It's against the democratic practices within Colombia. And so this is the back and forth that's taking place right now between the two sides.
Richard, what's Uribe's condition at the moment?
Miguel Uribe was taken first to a clinic near to where the assassination attempt took place, and then was moved to the Santa Fe, the Clínica Fundación Santa Fe, a high-level, very good hospital in the north of Bogota. It's believed he was hit with 3 bullets, 2 of them entering his head, another into his leg. We know he was in a very critical condition. There were neurologists and neurophysicians on site, but apparently he's come through the first set of surgery okay, but he remains in a critical condition.
A violent act this brazen, this public, I imagine, gets people talking about the state of democracy in their country, asking themselves if it's safe for political candidates to campaign. What's the climate there at the moment?
Well, Colombia is a notoriously violent country, but not since 1990 has a presidential aspiration, has a potential presidential candidate actually been assassinated. But in local elections and national elections, there is a great deal of violence always. Even back in 2023, for the local elections, there were around 18 local political community leaders assassinated. So it's not something new, but it has been more than 30 years since a presidential hopeful has been targeted. And yes, it causes great debate and fear in the streets. And one hopes that the presidential office will increase security for campaigning political figures.
Bears repeating, the suspect here seems to be a teenager, 14 or 15 years old. That's journalist Richard McColl in Bogota. Many thanks.
Thank you.